Hollingsworth, Huff, Kehoe, Leno, Liu, Lowenthal, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Romero, Runner, Smidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee. Mr. President, we are lacking a quorum.
Members, a quorum is present and is not present. Will the Sergeant please bring in the absent members? Will members of the Senate please report to the Senate floor so we may begin today's session? Members, would the members and guests beyond the rail and the gallery please rise? We'll be led in prayer this afternoon by our chaplain, Rabbi Mona Alfie. After which, please remain standing. We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance today by Senator DeSaulnay.
Today is Flag Day, and it celebrates the adoption of our flag by the Second Continental Congress on June 14, 1777. It has become for us not just the symbol of our country, but the symbol of freedom, of hope, and of liberty. Just less than a year earlier, on July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence announced to the world that all people are created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. May our flag continue to inspire within us and within all of humankind the noble ideals that our founders and subsequent generations have fought to protect. May these ideals take root in each of our hearts and be manifest in our actions and in our words. May this be God's will. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mother. Okay. Members, under motions and resolutions without objection, Senate Rule 55 will be suspended to allow lobbyists on the Senate floor. Also, members, without objection, Joint Rule 62A will be suspended to allow the Education Committee to hear AB 346 on Wednesday, June 16, 2010, without 4 days' notice in the daily file. Senator Wolk, you're recognized at your desk.
Mr. President, under motions and resolutions.
Under motions and resolutions.
File item 18, I would request unanimous consent to send 660 back to the Assembly for further action.
Without objection.
I would also, under file 36, send SB 1113 to the inactive file.
Without objection.
And file 74, I would, at the request of the author, pull AB 2314, Assemblymember Block, from the consent calendar to add co-authors at his request.
Thank you, Senator Wolk. Without objection, we will make sure we take care of all those items. Members, we are on privileges of the floor. Senator DeSaulnay.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two items. First, we respectfully request that AB 155 by Assemblymember Mendoza be moved to the inactive file at the request of the author.
Without objection.
And then secondarily, I would like to present a resolution to the Senate in honor of a constituent who is quite inspiring, and I would ask them to come around at this time. In these difficult times and with all the challenges we have in front of us, I think it is appropriate that we respond to individual Californians who've done something very heroic. This is the second time I've had the opportunity to do this for a constituent. The previous time was for someone who was got a much higher profile. If members remember, constituent Captain Sully Sullenberger was here last year. At that occasion, I reminded my colleagues of a very important quote that I like to use from Alexander de Tocqueville about the basic genius of America is in the simple premise that you can expect extraordinary things from ordinary people. And today, although less well known, certainly, than Captain Sullenberger, Taylor Booker, who is a constituent from Hercules, is just as heroic, and I'm sure you'll find that to be true. Taylor is from Hercules in the East Bay. The area code for her cell phone and her home phone is 510. She is a student at UC Riverside, and on February 20th of this year at 2:30 in the morning, Taylor was up studying and received a phone call on her cell phone from the 510 area code. Not recognizing who was on the phone, but seeing it as the area code that she lived in, she answered the phone. On the other end was a senior resident of Richmond, Ann E. Taylor. Coincidence that both of them have their names as Taylor. And Annie had tried to call 911 and had gotten Taylor's phone number 400 miles away in Riverside. Taylor calmly called emergency services, dialed 911 on another phone, and was directed to Riverside 911 and told the story, kept Annie on the phone, and dispatch changed it to the Richmond dispatch at 2:30 in the morning, found out where Annie was, the elderly lady, found out she was suffering from a stroke, and dispatched emergency services. The response was that if that emergency service hadn't been there when they got there, that Annie would have lost her life. So Taylor Booker is someone we're very proud of as an excellent student at UC Riverside, who is a hard worker, and she's here today with her family to be recognized for this simple but extraordinary act of saving another person's life and answering the call. So I would ask you to give a loud and long round of applause for Taylor Booker, a hero in California.
Thank you, Senator Salmon. Thank you, Senator. Senator Price is recognized at his desk.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move SB 1439 to the inactive file.
Without objection.
And I'd like to pull Senate Bill 2103 off the consent calendar for purposes of additional amendments.
Thank you, Senator Price. So noted.
Thank you.
Members, if we could just take one moment to welcome our newest senator on the Senate floor today, and that is Senator Emerson. Please give him a hand, Senator Emerson. Senator Emerson, you're not recognized at Senator Emerson.
Thank you. I learned that in the Senate you only have 10 words, and I think I just used them. Thanks for welcoming me. Thank you.
Good advice. Thank you, Senator. Senator Pavley. Senator Pavley, you're recognized at your desk.
For an adjourn in memory, if it's appropriate? No?
Yes.
All right, very good. I know everyone in this room probably has heard of John Wooden. He's coach, teacher, author, role model, husband, and father. He was a resident in Santa Monica for many years, and then the last 35 years in a modest condominium in Encino in the 23rd District. He was coached UCLA basketball for 27 years, died last week at the age of 99 at the UCLA Medical Center. His wife of 53 years, the first girl he ever dated in high school, Nell Wooden, died back in 1985. Coach Wooden is famous for guiding UCLA to 10 national championships and coaching such future NBA stars at the time, such as Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, Sidney Wicks, Marcus Johnson, Walt Hazzard, Keith Erickson, Gail Goodrich, and many, many others. But why was Coach Wooden so revered by so many? And those of you who live down in Southern California saw the LA Times had a 26-page supplement to their Sunday paper just on Coach Wooden. It was not because he was the only person who is in the Basketball Hall of Fame, both as a player from Purdue University as well as a coach. Coach Wooden was better known for making his teams better basketball players, but more importantly, he made them better people. He is a legend and a role model for basketball players of all ages and thousands of other people who all simply called him Coach. Here are a few facts about this special man. He never swore. Oh, goodness gracious, sakes alive was about as strong as it got, and if he ever said that to you, you know you were in big trouble. Mother Teresa and Abe Lincoln were his two heroes on how you should live your life. He was famous for writing his Pyramid for Success, involving a building block of traditional values of 25 strong character traits as a pathway to success. Wooden used to mail out, up till just recently, over 1,500 copies of his pyramids to coaches and players from around the country each year. He was named by ESPN back in 1999 as the greatest coach of the 20th century. The court at UCLA is dedicated to Nell and John Wooden. He insisted her name be attached, and her name came first. George W. Bush presented Wooden with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor an American can receive. And in 2009, Wooden was selected as the greatest coach in American sports history by the Sporting News. Coach was known for his wit and words of wisdom. Two of my favorites are, be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are. Your reputation is merely what others think you are. Or failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Words of wisdom from someone which is applicable to politics as well as sports. Wooden is survived by a son, Jim, and daughter, Nan, 7 grandchildren, and 13 great-grandchildren. As a native Angelino, Coach Wooden was a hero and role model for many of us, and for most of us in Los Angeles, our entire lives, and he's treasured by all. A public memorial service will be held June 26th, appropriately at Poly Pavilion on Nell and John Wooden Court. Please join me in adjourning in memory of John Wooden.
Thank you, Senator Pavley. Senator Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I would also like to rise and adjourn in memory of Coach Wooden. Senator Pavley did a remarkable job at explaining Coach Wooden. I was a young kid. I went to a Coach Wooden basketball camp, and there was no better role model for future coaches, people who want to get in the coaching profession, than Coach Wooden. As Senator Pavley mentioned, he had his Pyramid of Success. I still have that in my office down in the district. And then his famous saying was, again, failure prepares, preparing to fail. And he was one of the few coaches that actually didn't look at the scoreboard. He always thought that if I prepare my team and do the job, the score will take care of itself. And he did a remarkable job at preparing his team, not just to win on the court, but to win off the court. And I think he provided as a role model for future coaches, and that's just not lessons in basketball, that's lessons in life. And God rest his soul, and thanks for Coach Wooden's life on earth.
Senator Anistad.
Mr. President, member, I never did play for Coach Wooden, but I was a student at UCLA on what they called the meat squad. And in summertime, we would play in Poly Pavilion, play basketball against the team members. They didn't have an organized camp back in those days. That was a million years ago. But did play against guys like Sidney Wicks and Curtis Rowe and Mike Warren, and wasn't good enough to make the team. But Coach Wooden took an interest in me one night because he saw I was putting my basketball shoes on wrong. He couldn't improve my jump shot, or was amazed at how slow I really was compared to some of his players. But the fact of the matter is once I learned how to put my socks on right and tie my shoes correctly, I never had a blister playing basketball in the next 30 years, thanks to Coach Wooden. He was a remarkable guy. He was a teacher who took interest in every student, whether you were on the team or not, and I think that's what we're all going to remember him for.
Thank you, Senator Anistad. Senator Hollingsworth.
Thank you. I also rise to adjourn in the memory.
Okay. Senator Hollingsworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I ask that we adjourn in the memory of George A. McRae. George Alexander McRae died on June 7th at the age of 92. He's survived by his wife, Gloria, his sons, Robert Bruce, Donald Robert, and grandsons, Craig, Eric, great-grandchildren, Nicole, Justin, and Megan, and his nephews, Bruce, Barry, Rob, and Val. Bruce, many of us know as the government relations person for UPS. He was quite a remarkable man. He was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and was a survivor of the Halifax explosion and was evacuated to Bedeque, where he and several cousins and relatives live today. Later, his family moved to Southern California, where he was a standout track star at Glendale Junior College and even went up against Olympic runner Glenn Cunningham. Later, he enlisted as a Marine in World War II and transferred to the U.S. Marine Raiders. He was wounded on Guam and lost the use of one arm and spent the next 2 years in and out of hospitals, and with the help of his mother became left-handed. He worked for Lockheed, Dumont Aviation, and the Queens Medical Center, and later on in life he served as assistant and later the curator of the Marine Raider Museum in Quantico, Virginia. A great patriot, a great man who will be sorely missed by his family and others, and ask that we adjourn in his memory today.
Thank you, Senator Hollingsworth. Senator Yee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Adjourn in memory. Let me adjourn in memory of Judge John J. Bible. At age 86, he passed away. Resident of my district in the city of San Bruno. He served as a San Mateo County Superior Court judge from 1978 to 1993. You know anything about San Mateo? The judges there are no nonsense. If you want to get in trouble, you go to San Francisco, but you don't get in trouble in San Mateo. But despite that reputation, Judge John Bible was known as a rather warm and considerate individual who showed a particular kindness and consideration towards victims and those children within our particular county. John Bible served in the Army Air Force during World War II, and after his discharge in 1946, he moved his family to San Francisco, and then after serving as an insurance adjuster for 11 years, he earned his law degree at USF. After practicing law at a private firm, John Bible was appointed by then Governor Jerry Brown to the San Mateo County Superior Court bench. He was exceptionally caring and devoted husband to his wife, Barbara, who passed before him. Surviving John Bible is his longtime companion, retired Air Force Colonel Renee Rubin, and loving family members, niece Melanie Reagan, who currently works for Senator Tom Harmon, nephew Michael John Polka, niece Susan Clamman, and cousin Sonny Zaggy, and cousin Carol Stysons. John Bible was buried at Holy Cross Cemetery with military honors on July 1, 2010. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Yee. Senator Ashburn, you are recognized at the Pro Tem's desk.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senators, it's my pleasure to introduce a familiar face to many of us here in the Capitol, Matt Gray, someone who now lobbies, but for many years ably served Senator John Vasconcellos as a member of the staff, and for a couple of decades has dedicated himself to community service and volunteerism through the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Victims Foundation, and the YMCA. And we welcome Matt and his wife Dana and the beautiful children Sarah and Dylan I happened to hear on the news about a fire at a home here in Sacramento. And someone who took it upon themselves to do something above and beyond in the circumstances on the evening of April 9, 2010. Matt was doing an ordinary thing. He was driving to the store, actually a noble thing, to purchase dog food for the dog. The dog appreciated that. But on the way, he happened to see a house that was on fire, and there were no emergency personnel, no fire equipment on scene, a big fire. And so Matt did what, I hope many people would do, but he didn't hesitate and rushed in. And there was, in fact, a person inside the structure, the son of the owner, who was unconscious, and using a garden hose, Matt Gray fought his way into the house to find the person and dragged the person outside the home. And, of course, with that, the victim was able to be transported to appropriate medical care. Unfortunately, regrettably, the victim whom Matt attempted to save later succumbed to the fire and the consequences of it. Matt himself was taken to the hospital for carbon monoxide inhalation, and he survived. And so we're grateful for that, and we're grateful for his courage. I think you could say that was an heroic deed and worthy of recognition by the California State Senate. And so, Matt, we have for you Matthew William Gray, a resolution honoring and commending you for your years of service here to the legislature, Senator Vasconcellos, through your volunteer work, and most particularly for your heroic deeds on that evening in trying to save a life. And it's, I know that all of my colleagues join in recognizing you and your beautiful family and thanking you for all that you do. Congratulations.
Senator Yee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Let me also add my word of congratulations to Matt Gray. Matt, while he has a number of different interests, but for me, I see him as one individual who really cares about children, cares about mental health, particularly those individuals who've been abused. That's the legacy that I know of Matt, and I'm sure that he has done Vasco quite an honor because of his work in those areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Yee. Members, is there any objection to having a photographer on the Senate floor? Okay, seeing, hearing none. Senator Cedillo, you're recognized at Senator Steinberg's desk.
Yes, I'd like to take a moment. We heard about someone saving someone's life. I want to talk about someone and some organization changing people's lives. I would like to introduce the California Strawberry Commission and like to introduce the president of the Strawberry Commission, Mark Murray. I introduce them not because strawberries are loved by everyone in the state or that strawberries are vital to our economy, but because the Strawberry Commission, in times of economic challenge for our state, is doing something to change lives. What they're doing is that they operate a scholarship program. And with these 3 scholarships, they're going to mark $1 million of scholarships that they've given to the children of California. Now, these scholarships are pretty easy to get. All you have to do is come from a family of people who pick strawberries. And in doing this, they create a bridge from the fields of strawberries to the universities of California and to the future leaders of this state and this nation. And so we have with us the president of the California Strawberry Commission, Mark Murray, and in addition, 3 recent recipients Eduardo Dominguez, Guadalupe Ocampo, and Carlos Zamudio. New recipients as the Strawberry Commission again meets its $1 million mark in scholarships for the young people of California and the future leaders of the state and this nation.
Thank you, Senator Cedillo. Thank you, Senator Cedillo. Members, we're going to proceed on to an item that Senator Denham has, but before, we'd like to read the messages from the Assembly. Will be deemed read, and reports from committee. Mr. Secretary, will you please read?
Mr. President, the Committee on Veterans Affairs, to which was referred Assembly Bill 2651, reports the same back with the recommendation do pass and be adopted, but first be re-referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Mr. President, the Chair of the Committee on Appropriations, to which was referred Assembly Bill 2651, reports the same back with the recommendation that the above measure be placed on second reading pursuant to Senate Rule 28.8.
Senator Denham, you're recognized at your desk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, with the current method of funding for servicing bond debt, the bond rating agencies have been assigning lower ratings to CalVet general obligation bonds than they have been assigning to CalVet revenue bonds due to a fear of the state budget crisis triggering a general fund rate on CalVet GO bond debt service monies. To alleviate fears, Assembly Bill 2651 creates a special fund called the Veterans Bond Payment Fund, through which CalVet can transfer the debt service funds from the 1943 account. By doing this, it ensures the controller may not use the funds for any other purpose. This lowers the assessed risk, allowing the credit rating agencies to restore the higher credit rating to the CalVet Home Loan Program.
I think we're going to go through a little.
By passing this bill today during the upcoming bond sale, the Cal Department of Vet Affairs will realize a savings of $5 to $7 million, and with this bill, it will generate an additional $500,000 in savings on the bond deal itself. In the long term, this bill will have the potential to save upwards of $400 million by reducing the interest rate the state must pay on general obligation bonds. This bill, sponsored by CDVA, enjoys no opposition, no votes. I would ask for your aye vote and request that AB 2651 be immediately transmitted to the Assembly for concurrence.
Thank you, Senator Denham. Senator Denham, I understand you want to take this item up without reference to file, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Senator Denham. Would the Secretary
without
please,
reference to file.
Secretary, please read the bill.
Assembly Bill 2651 by Assemblymember Knight, enacting to veterans and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Senator Denham, your introduction to that was wonderful. Senator Correa had a comment on the bill. Senator Correa.
Mr. President, Senators, I also rise in strong support of AB 2651. This bill is about homes for California veterans. It reduces the cost of these homes by essentially shifting these funds from one source to another, therefore reducing the all-in cost to the state and to veterans. It's good for us. It's good for our California veterans. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Cedillo. Without objection, members, Senator Denham, you may close on your item.
Would ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. Aye. Corbett. Correa. Aye. Cox. Denham. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Ducheney. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Flores. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hollingsworth. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Leno. Aye. Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Romero. Aye. Runner. Aye. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wiggins. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee. Yee. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Mr. President.
Ayes 33, noes 0. The measures passed. Thank you, Senator Denham. Immediate transmittal to the Assembly. Senator Yee, you recognize at your desk.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Can I move SB 920 to the inactive?
Without objection. Senator Liu, you recognize at your desk.
Thank you. Under motions and resolutions, file item number 28, SB 1102, to the inactive file.
Without objection. Members, we're going to move on to consideration of the daily file. Will the Secretary please read the second reading file?
Assembly Bill 1152, 1437, 1643, 1748, 1487 with amendments, 2268, 2689, 2063 with amendments, 2418, 2119, 2618, 634, 2493, 2474, and Assembly Bill 564 with amendments.
Members, moving on to unfinished business. File item 19, Senator Saulnier. Pass on file. File item 20, Senator Yee. Pass on file. Let's move on to Assembly third reading. File item 56. Pass. File item 57. Pass on file. File item 60. Pass on file. Senator Steinberg. There is no other business before the Senate. And before that, Senator Samiti, you're recognized at your desk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, just to announce that the Senate Environmental Quality Committee will meet in room 112 for Senate Environmental Quality immediately upon adjournment.
Senator Negrete-McLeod.
Yes, to announce that Business and Professions will meet in room 3191 immediately after session.
So noted. Senator Wright.
Mr. President, members, I'd like to make an announcement. It's actually on a more somber note than we've had. The Marauders of Jesuit High School in Sacramento were the boys track and field champion, first time that they've ever won. The girls' winner was an old familiar name to us, the Jackrabbits of Long Beach Poly, and we hope to have both of them here in the chamber next week, along with Joanna Hayes, who was the gold medalist in Seoul, Korea, and the current world record holder in the 100-meter hurdles to honor their CIF championships.
Thank you, Senator Wright. Senator Correa.
Purposes of announcement. Also, Purse Committee will meet at 2 o'clock. And also wanted to just announce this group that the Santa Ana High School, Santa Ana Saints recently won their 11th CIF Wrestling Dual Meet Championship in a row. One of the wrestlers, a young lady, came in second nationally, and she'll be going to wrestling for the University of North Dakota.
All right. Congratulations. Thank you, Senator Cedillo. Senator Hollingsworth. Senator Hollingsworth.
Yes, I just want to announce there'll be a Republican caucus in the coffee shop immediately upon adjournment for just a few minutes.
There will be a Republican caucus upon adjournment in the Hollingsworth Coffee Lounge. Members, any other comments, items? Senator Grady-McLeod.
Seeing that there will be a Republican caucus, we will meet in BMP at 2 o'clock.
BMP will meet at 2 o'clock. So noted. Thank you, Senator Negrete-McLeod. Senator Steinberg, the desk is clear.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just to announce what I know Senator Cheney has also put out publicly, that the Budget Conference Committee will continue to meet over every day this week. Session will be on the call of the pro tem, beginning now as we approach a deadline and a series of deadlines. And we are now in that season where we are going to be working primarily on doing everything we can to bring a balanced and decent budget to the people of California. Meantime, stay on notice. Thank you.
So noted, Senator Steinberg. The Senate will be in recess until 3:30, at which time the adjournment motion will be made. We will reconvene upon the call of the pro tem. Senator Steinberg.
Mr. President, one other announcement. The Democratic caucus will meet tomorrow at noon in the Maddie Lounge for...
Democratic caucus at noon in the Maddie Lounge. Members, the Senate Democratic Caucus will meet upon the call of the pro tem. Seeing no other business, the Senate stands in recess.